Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and welcome to this next video in this TypeScript JavaScript course. And in this video, what we're going to be talking about is classes, more in depth. So we learned in the previous video that what objects are, and objects are just collections of keys and values. So every key, so like name, age, height, allows you to access a value that we can define. And they allow us to describe a thing. So I can describe a student, I can go describe a server, I can describe, you just imagine things that need to exist in your program that you need to kind of symbolize or abstract away. So again, in this case, we're abstracting away the concept of a student. Okay, but there's a lot of other things classes can do. Now in this situation, I'm going to actually switch back over to JavaScript for the purposes of simplification, so we don't get too down the typing rabbit hole for this particular piece. And first focus on the idea of object-oriented programming. So I'm going to create a classes.js file. And again, our JavaScript files will run with Node. You could run them with Deno, but I'm going to run them with Node just so that we get used to using both. Okay? Because they're both great tools for running your TypeScript and JavaScript files. Okay. Cool. Now, let's see here. So let's just use our example from before. Okay, so before we created a class called student, and essentially, again, if we're writing this in JavaScript, we don't have to predefine the properties. So I could just do I can create the constructor, name and age. Again, no typing in JavaScript, so I don't have to write any types there. And it would just be like this dot name equals name, this dot age equals age. Okay. And I don't have to define height ahead of time. I just add it when I feel like it. Again, JavaScript lets you do whatever you want. That's the purpose of TypeScript, to add that extra layer of discipline. Then I can define that greeting method and just say, okay, hey, whenever you use this greeting function, it's going to say, return hello. Okay, so there we defined a class, kind of like we did at the end of the previous video. And again, now I can create like a new student. So I can say const Tim equals new student Tim 14. And notice like how you end up typing a lot less when you don't have to do any typing. But again, it's not going to be able to help you as much in catching errors. That's sort of the catch. Okay, let's see here. It's picking up that name as a string and age as a number, mainly because I have it in the other file, so it's inferring it. But that's not necessarily always going to be the case. You're not going to have multiple files with multiple definitions of the same thing. Okay, but define a student, and then again I can access that student's age by doing let's do console.log tim.age. Okay, I can console log its greeting by saying, hey, tim.greeting, but greeting was a function, so we use the parentheses. Okay, and if I say node classes.js, so again, I'm using node now, not Deno. Okay, you get 14 hello, because that's Tim's age, and when we use the greeting function, it's going to return the string of hello. So when we log it, we get hello. Okay, so that's the story there. I can create student objects. Wonderful. Okay. The cool thing about this is, what if I want to create like specific types of students? Okay, so for example, let's say we want to create math students. Okay, I don't really, and then I want to create English students and so forth. Do I need to necessarily create this whole thing again and add any extra stuff? Okay, no, I can do this. I can do what's called inheritance, where I say, hey, I want to create another class that has all the stuff that this class has, plus more stuff. Okay, so what you do is you would do class, math student. Okay, extends, because I'm extending the student class. You can only extend one class at a time. Okay, so I can't extend like multiple classes. Okay, but I can be like class math student extends student, and I can be like, I don't need, if I like the constructor the way it is, I can just leave it and just say, hey, I want to add like a function that says, get math textbooks. Okay, and which will console log, I got textbooks. I got my math textbooks. Okay, so now I can create a new student. We'll create Tim again, except instead of using the student constructor, I will use the math student constructor. So I'll say, hey, Tim is a new math student. Okay. And again, this constructor will still match the original constructor because it extends student. Okay. So in that case, I can use name and age. But actually, I should define those. So Tim 14. Nice. And then if I console log Tim, console.log Tim, we can see that, hey, we have now an object that is a math student object. Okay, and there he is. Okay, and if he goes, if Tim says, and if I hit dot, I can say, hey, get math textbooks. That's a function, so it gets parentheses. I got my math textbooks. Okay, I got my math textbooks. Cool. Okay, and it has the name and age properties just like a student. Now, what if I want to add additional properties? Okay, I want to make a constructor that actually takes an additional argument. I can do that. That's referred to as overwriting. Whenever I create a new definition of any function that exists in the parent class. The only catch is if I override the parent function, I can't assume that the parent one will run because it's going to run the one that's in. So instead, it's going to automatically run the version of the constructor that I have here. So we'll say name, age, and then let's say we wanted to have a property called topic, like what topic they're covering. I don't have to type out this whole like this.a. I still want to use this constructor because this does at least sets these two properties for me already. I don't have to do that again. So what you can do is you can call the parent using the word super. That's just built into JavaScript. Super just refers to the parent class. So I can say, okay, super. And when I say super parentheses, I'm saying I'm calling the parent constructor. I can pass it the name and the age that it expected, and that'll handle that part. So the only part I have to handle here is the new property. So I can say, hey, this.topic equals topic. Okay, so now I can go, when I create Tim, I can say he's learning pre-algebra. Okay, now if I run the code, see, I can see now he has that property pre-algebra, and name and age are still set, because what's happening is that when I create a new math student, the constructor automatically gets called, because the constructor always gets called when you create a new object of the class. And that is taking the name and age in, because again, I passed the name and age in, because when I use the new keyword, that's basically me saying create a new math student. Okay, and then these are the arguments I'm passing to the constructor function. So it's going to take the name and age that I passed in, pass them into the original constructor in student, which will handle adding the name and age property, and then we'll have set the this topic property. And I can add more methods. I can override methods that exist. You can do whatever you want. And then I can further inherit from that class, and inherit from that class, and inherit from that class. So, I mean, that's essentially how classes work, which can be used if you want to try to do like object-oriented programming. So at this point, you kind of learn the high level of working with TypeScript and JavaScript in this video series. I have lots of other videos for you to go deeper. What I recommend doing is typing in YouTube, type in like Alex Merced Masterclass. I have several masterclass videos where I dive deeper into each of these topics that we've covered so far and more, for you to get even a deeper handling of TypeScript and JavaScript. But hopefully this gives you enough tools that you can use it for, right now you'd be able to create scripts that you can use for yourself, and go back and take a look at some of the other commands and other things you can do with like Node and Deno, because both Node and Deno have a bunch of functions built into them. They're different depending on which one you're using. So if I go to node.js.org, okay, we have here, we can go to the docs. Okay, and we want to look at the latest API here. So Node.js. I'm surprised I don't actually have the docs for Node 17 right now. Okay, let's see if we click on here. Okay, here we go, Node 17 API. Okay, so each of these sections here are like libraries you can bring in, or things that exist. So like the console, Here it goes all through all the functions that are inside the console. There's different libraries we can bring in. Let me just find a good example. Bunch of like different utilities. Stream, repo. Like readline would be like if you want to take input from a user. So this like has that kind of functions you would need to like take input from a user. And you would import these, and they show you examples. So if you look through here, you'll see examples of like how you import it in there. Okay, so you see here you would import readline in there using the syntax as outlined here. Okay, and then same thing for like Deno. We go to deno.land and we look up like the API here. It just means like all the different functions. You can see like the different modules that exist in there, and like all the different things that are built into the Deno object. And just get familiar with cool things you can do with Deno. Also getting familiar with the command line. Okay, like the actual like commands. Deno CLI APIs. So you can go to the manual, you can find more stuff there. Okay, but read through the documentation so you can learn about the two tools, because they both allow you to run JavaScript files. Deno allows you to run TypeScript files out of the box. With Node, you probably have to do a little bit more. You'd have to get the TypeScript compiler, but I think you could use it like this. You could type in like npx tsc, and then I think I could do like if I do like array.ts, I think that would work. That TSC is like the TypeScript compiler. Yep, and I think it is. See right there, it'll compile the Java and create the JavaScript file for you, and then I would run the JavaScript file. Okay, and essentially what this is doing is you're just doing a one-time use of the TypeScript compiler, but it's again not quite as smooth as using Deno. With Deno, I can just run the TypeScript file, it compiles it and runs it as if it were just a plain old JavaScript file, which is really nice, which is makes Deno really nice for working with TypeScript. But again, if later on, as you get into different frameworks like Nest.js in the back end or React on the front end, they have templates that already have the whole TypeScript set up for you, so you don't have to really worry about those things. But yeah, so check out the masterclass video so you can learn more about the language. Read the documentation for Node and Deno so you can see what kind of things they offer you and how you can go deeper with them. Okay, but right now focus on taking the tools you've learned right now. Write yourself some scripts, like write a script that does your budget for you. Write a script that does all sorts of cool things. Like, because also a cool thing to learn in Node and Deno is to learn the file system library. Okay, because this allows you to write files. Because maybe you want to have a to-do list, and you can just run a script that adds an item to like a file that is your to-do list, and you can do that using the file system API. And both Deno and Node both have a version of that. But again, how you do something in Deno, in a script that you run in Deno, may be different than the way you do it in a script that's run for Node. So keep that in mind. They're two different runtimes. But with that, I'll see you all later on. I'll keep making videos. Subscribe to the channel. But hopefully this gave you a good foundation to continue your learning in TypeScript and JavaScript. Have a great day and enjoy.